AGA family, Coach Nicole here. I wanted to take a moment to explain how rotation sheets work to you. If you're the type of parent that just wants to show up to the meet, clap for your kid, enjoy the performance, and you don't really care, you do not need to learn this. But for those of you who are interested on what those little symbols mean and how it's organized, I would be happy to explain it to you. There's many different ways that the club hosts can organize their meet, and I'm going to show you two different versions today. There's a lot of different ways, but the two different versions today will show you the first one that gives our group an assigned event to start on, and we pick the athlete's order. And then the second one, something that you'll see at usually state meet, regionals, definitely nationals, it's where the athletes are listed for us and we have to comply with the rotation that way, so we don't have any choices. That one's a little bit more difficult to understand, but I do want to give you a brief explanation on how that works. Okay, starting with our first rotation sheet, we're going to use the 2020 Rock and Roll Classic as an example. At the top left, you'll see the meet host and also the date, and then when you go below the first black line, you'll see what day it is, so Friday, January 10th, 2020. Going from left to right, I will explain what all of this information is. This is the first session of the weekend, that's why it says session 1, and then silver is there because they have Excel silvers in this first session. When you move to the right, it'll say open warm-ups, and those are starting at 8:30. That means all athletes who are in that session need to be on the floor getting ready to warm up, stretch, and do a pep talk with their coaches and get ready for march-in. To the right, you'll see that march-in is at 8:50, so they get approximately 20 minutes to do their basic warm-up, get with their coaches, and get ready to go to their first event. Some meet hosts will have the athletes start standing on their first event, and they will introduce them at the first event, and some of them will take them behind a curtain, line them up, and then formally introduce them and bring them out onto the floor. You'll notice that if you go back over to the left, there are 64 gymnasts in this session, and then moving to your right, usually they'll post what the time warm up when they start. In this case, they have not. And then the next piece of information is awards should start at 11:35. Next, you'll see that there is the first section of little symbols. It'll say flight A, and there's also a flight B. Meet hosts will regularly have flight A and flight B to make sure that the meet is going smoothly. Meaning, if you walk into a competition and you see 2 sets of bars, 2 vaults, 2 beams, and 1 floor, that is most likely indicating that you're going to have 2 flights. Meaning, there are 2 different groups that will be starting on the vault. The first group will be flight A. They will do their timed warm-up, then they will compete. As they are competing, the flight B will be warming up on the other set of equipment. Once flight A is done with competition, the judges will flip-flop over to flight B, and those athletes will start competing, and vice versa. The next group will move over to start their timed warm-ups. This makes for a very cohesive and smooth transition. It also allows for more athletes to compete in each session. So what you see in flight A is the first little symbol is signifying the vault. The second one is the uneven bars. The third one to the right is the balance beam. And the fourth one is the floor. Your athlete is always going to compete in Olympic order, which is vault, bars, beam, floor. That is why it's listed that way. On this rotation sheet, you will see that Nadinoff Gymnastics is starting with 9 athletes on the vault. AGA Northwest and Mercy are starting on the uneven bars. AGA having 3, Mercy having 6. Reigert is starting on the balance beam with 10 athletes, and Swag Gymnastics is starting on floor with 8 athletes. They try to match up teams so that each one of these groups has roughly the same amount of kids in it. Oftentimes you can't make it work to where everybody has exactly the same number of kids, but generally that's how it works. So you'll see, I'll focus on our gym. AGA Northwest is starting on the uneven bars. From the uneven bars, they will move to the beam because that's the Olympic order. Then they'll go to floor and they will finish on vault. At this competition, Nadinoff will give our coaching staff cards with our athletes' names on them. It is up to the discretion of the coach which athlete goes first, second, third, and they will hand those to the judges. The judges will write the scores on those cards, and the coach will pick it up after each event, and then sometimes reorganize the athletes depending on what event they're going to. Okay, now that we've covered the basic rotation sheet where they allow us to put our athletes in our own order, let's move on to the rotation sheet that you will most likely see at state regionals and nationals, where and some of the larger invitationals that we will attend, where they put the athletes in order for us. Okay, folks, hang with me on this one. Very similar to the one we just covered, just slightly different. Okay, starting at the top left, it's going to list out the same times that the one previous did. You have your open warm-ups, your march-in, your timed warm-ups where they go to their events, as well as your awards time. The difference is you'll see that the symbols are still on each one of the rotations, but they've named them squads. At the top left, you'll see that Squad A has Team Legacy, Squad B has 3 teams, AB, Champion, and Legacy, Squad C has Champion, and Squad D has Legacy again. There's a total of 64 gymnasts in this competition. It looks like they've equally spread out 16 kids among 4 rotations. Okay, we're gonna start on Squad A, which is starting on vault, which is Team Legacy. There on the far left on the top box, you'll see on the left-hand side that all 4 events are listed. So of course it goes vault, bars, beam, floor, because that is the rotational order of which they are following. If you look at where it says vault, Sarah Adams, which XG in front of her name, it means Excel Gold. It looks like she's number 196, which is what she is identified in the scoring system. She's going to be starting on vault because her name is directly next to that event. And then Miley will be second, Maggie, Megan, and then so forth. When that group moves to bars, where you see it says bars, next to that, it looks like there is a child named I can't even read that. Lackley, and then Caitlin, Lily, and then Shayla. And of course, when they go to beam, it looks like Mimi is starting on beam, and then when they go to floor, Laura is starting on floor. They try to do this to keep it fair for the group so the same kid is not starting each time. Should there be a scratch, meaning that a child does not compete that event or they've scratched the whole meet, the next child will take their place. So we just bump over that and skip that athlete. I hope that was moderately easy to follow and somewhat helpful. Otherwise, good luck, good skills, and go AGA.